And hello, everybody. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. And if you live in Lane County, Oregon, well, if you live anywhere, this is what ends up happening. So much weird stuff. And for people in Lane County, this has to do with garbage. This has to do with neighbors unhappy. This has to do with the county commissioners who did a study years ago and said not to put a garbage plant in this neighborhood. And now they're turning around and voting to put a garbage plant in this neighborhood. So it's about consistency, wink, wink, and all that kind of stuff. So I am excited to bring this to you because a lot of people don't know what's going on here. And I think this will be a really good chance. We have someone, Jake Pelroy, is going to come in and explain from his point of view what's going on. Now, he does work for the people who are opposed to the project. We're going to be really upfront about that. And if anybody else wants to come on that's for the project and talk about it, well, so I guess we're still rolling because I got people asking questions. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Yeah, we have an audio, so I guess we'll just continue.
Okay, sounds great.
I lost internet. Something went down and it just was crazy. So anyway, but we've got people on here, so we'll go with where we are. Okay. So guys, this is Jake Pelroy, my buddy. Jake, tell everybody hello.
Hi, it's good to see you again, Rick. My name's Jake. I'm born and raised in Lane County. My folks started a garbage company back in 2000.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was my first jobs, learning how to drive and learning how to work hard over the summer. And so this whole garbage sorting facility is really a family passion project for me. And
I had no idea. I knew that you're working with this group, but I had no idea. So tell people what's going on. This is Lane County and where they're at. So kind of describe the project for people.
So this project has been called IMRF previously, but now it's called CleanLane Resource Recovery Facility.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, Bill London called it a CLRF as an acronym last time I spoke with him. But essentially what this facility is supposed to do is take all the garbage and open up the bags and then be able to sort out material that this machine has deemed valuable. And the stuff that they've identified currently as valuable is organics like green waste and compost. And then the other stuff would be recycling that ends up getting into the garbage. Recycling, such as paper or tin. And with the green waste, it would go into an anaerobic digester. It would be processed, and there would be some gas that would be able to be sold for natural gas. And then for the recycling, then they would try to process that so it would be able to be sold as a commodity.
So it sounds like, okay, so it's environmental. They're trying to take care of things, create some gas at the same time. What are the problems with this?
Well, first, I would say there's a lot of redundancy here with this project. Lane County, there's the DEQ for Oregon. They calculate all of these areas and how much garbage is created in this area, and they create this rating called diversion. And diversion is recycling and green waste. And Lane County is currently #1 in the state for diversion. So they are the best out of anyone in the state at 52% was the last number that I saw, and they were well higher than the other areas. And so of all the garbage, we're already doing 50% of it is not going to the landfill. So that's a good start. Second thing is the cost of this project. The cost has started from $68 million. I think that was the first number that I saw, to $100 million, to $150 million, to now $178 million. So it has gone up.
And who's paying that?
So there's essentially two ways this thing is being funded. One is by a bond that the county is taking out and going to have to pay back. The bond is for $35 million, and then plus I believe it's about $26 million in interest that is paid back. And then the second piece is bulk handling systems is putting forward money initially, and then through a contract with bulk handling systems and the county will pay bulk handling systems back for 25 years for this project. And so those will be paid for by tipping fees. That is what the haulers pay when they go and they dump their garbage. Private citizens also get charged tipping fee if you bring it to the transfer station and drop off some bags of garbage there, or some of your weekend dump. That's a tipping fee as well. And so when the county first voted on this back in December 2023, they instituted an 11% increase for 2024, an 11% increase for 2025. And they had anticipated more years, 2 other years, and one was 8% and one was 6%. But they didn't really want to get into that right now because they just wanted to do the 2 years. So it's a pretty hefty increase. Some years there's no increase. And Lane County actually has a very robust landfill. Our landfill has anywhere between 80 and 100 years left on it. And that's part of the reason why the county says they want to have this facility, so they can keep their landfill longer.
So the bottom line is the tipping fee, which is what a name that is, because nobody's getting tipped. It's This is taxpayers in Lane County, garbage users, people that are dumping their garbage are paying that price. And the trucks that are dumping the garbage have to pay it. So if they're coming to your house to dump the garbage, they're going to pass that fee on to you, the garbage person. So the taxpayer of Lane County is going to pay for this. And you know, the thing I think that's really interesting is I know you already got 50% of this, going in there. Bring up more because there's other inconsistencies here. But what I find kind of interesting about this is we had this happen where I live now. They raised the price of taking stuff to the dump. And what happened was people started dumping more stuff out in the wilderness. So you're creating more pollution and garbage with your plan because you're increasing it. And I've always said here is, especially for people who don't have the funding, who can't take their cans of paint and pay the price that people want them to pay, or to pay to put the refrigerator in the dump, give them a scholarship. I'll pay for it. I don't want it out there in the dump, but this is going to cause more of that maybe, I mean, but tell them about EPUD, because the I don't even know what that stands for. I just know EPUD and EWEB, and it's a power company in Lane County. But tell them about that part of this plan.
Yeah, it's a public utility, so it's Emerald People's Utility District, and they serve a lot of rural Lane County. They partnered with the county back in, I believe, late 80s, early 90s on a landfill gas recovery. And so most landfills now have some sort of landfill gas recovery, but this was one of the first. And it was at great expense to put this thing in there. And essentially, the garbage, it creates landfill gas. And what they would do is they would cover it up and they would drill wells into the garbage, and then they would be able to extract gas. What EPUD was doing with this is they were burning the gas during peak energy prices. So energy prices, they go up and they go down. And so this was a way to offset times of high demand during the winter or in the summer when where they would buy their garbage, their electricity, where they would buy their electricity would peak. And so this would create a stabilization for them. So over the years, they would, with more and more investment, they would get more and more gas as this gas became more valuable to their ratepayers. EPUD is owned by the people who pay into it. So they had made millions of dollars of investment into this. And so with this new facility coming in, the idea is, from the county's perspective, is they're trying to extract the gas before it gets to the landfill. So that created a situation where EPUD needed to go and figure out their future on this landfill gas situation.
Well, what happens to all the investment that EPUD has into this whole project then, into their own project?
Yeah. So I know that they're looking at options for the future because there's still gas that's created there, but it really put a situation in there where they're didn't have that gas, that energy production anymore, for the way that they had been doing it. So, they'd spent this money, and now they're looking at other options of possibly working with a contractor to figure out what to do with that and maybe extract more gas. But I think a lot of that stuff's kind of up in the air right now, and I don't have all the details on EPUD, but they were definitely in opposition to this, and they've since basically said, well, the county decided to move forward with their thing, so we got to figure out how to move best forward for our ratepayers. So
the other thing that I think a lot of people probably don't understand is this isn't going to happen at the landfill.
Yeah, originally
it's supposed to. Originally, it's going to be at the dump.
Yeah. Originally, it was supposed to be at Short Mountain Landfill, which is south of Goshen. And during this the planning process of this, the county came back and said, well, it's going to be too expensive for us to put it here at the at the landfill because we're going to have to put up retaining walls and they had a couple other excuses. And then they said, so we're looking at a couple properties in Goshen to place this thing at. There was also an issue with EPUD at the landfill because they own the gas at the landfill. So if they were to site this at Short Mountain, then therefore EPUD would have had to have been part of this deal. And I think that could have been a thing, but that was an unconfirmed rumor out there. But it's a pretty strong suspicion on our part that was a situation. So they ended up finding a piece of property in Goshen about a mile and a half to the north of the landfill.
And so this is how much property is it, and what's it near?
Yeah, so it's 26 acres and it's five lots, and 22 of the 26 acres is wetlands, and so it's near this creek called Wild Hog Creek, and this Wild Hog Creek is a creek that runs into the Willamette River right at the confluence of the Coast Fork and the Middle Fork. And so the Wild Hog Creek, essentially, it takes all of the drainage off of the South Eugene area and flows, and it gets overfilled quite a bit. And so there's next to it, there's a Weyerhaeuser truck yard. There's a couple mills. There's a couple houses. There's like a mechanic shop that is by there. There's homes all scattered around this 26 acres as well.
And there's also a school, isn't there? Goshen Elementary is now a school, a different kind of school, but
yeah. And so at one of the tips of this 26 acre parcel is Willamette Leadership Academy, and that's an alternative military school for kids.
What do neighbors think of all that? I mean, were they asked, or did they get a chance to give their 2 cents?
No, they weren't asked. And so
so you have to just like, I'm sorry, so you got 2 dumps, you got 2 landfills where this would be practical to put, and there's no houses around it, no neighborhoods really around either one of those, because I know where the Short Mountain one is as well.
Yeah.
So rather than that, you bring it into town, little Goshen town.
Yeah.
So you were telling me earlier, wasn't there a study done on Goshen and revitalize? Was revitalization putting a garbage dump in the middle of Goshen?
Yeah. So the county back in 2014, 2015, they went through this Goshen plan. Goshen Great Plan is what they called it, and the idea is to create this comprehensive plan where the community had input, where the county had input on what should be placed in this in order to bring up the development of the city or the area. In these comprehensive plans, this was the second that the state of Oregon has actually approved. So it's super rare, and it was an aggressive way of trying to say, hey, these are the kind of development we want here. And it's stuff where you have to do infrastructure improvements. And it's only certain types of commercial interests. And so I think the board at the time realized that the landfill was there. There was the train tracks. There was a substation. So there's a lot of stuff that's there that they might need to try to bring this area up. And going into where it is today is we started participating in a land use process to not have the county place this facility there in partnership with the neighbors. And so we have some of our neighbors that are helping us out, and they have specific concerns about this facility that I think a lot of them believe that this should be at the landfill. I've held multiple town halls down there, and we've gotten 30 to 50 people there, and that's pretty big for that size town. They just are they completely don't believe that this thing's going to happen, because there's people that have they can't put in a new well, they can't put in a septic tank because the county has said no. And here the county here is trying to put in a massive new garbage sorting facility, and they need a septic system there as well. So there's a lot of contradictions there, and so we've challenged them last year. They tried to get the zoning changed from the current designation, which is light industrial, to rural industrial, because that would then allow a garbage facility to be in there. We pointed out this doesn't meet your Goshen Great Plan that you have, and they withdrew their application. The county withdrew their application. And then they came back, they said, we're actually just going to do a special use permit. And this is no longer a waste facility. We've re-examined the information on our application, and it's a recycling facility and a government facility. And so now they're trying to get around the zoning issue by just getting a special use permit. And so my association and a couple of the neighbors and Sanapac have filed appeals on this. And it was appealed to a hearings official, and hearings official heard our arguments about why this isn't an accepted use, and there's tons of flooding, and they haven't considered this and they haven't considered that. And so he's going to the hearings official is going to make a decision in about mid-April. So
what is to go after that? So if he decides in your favor, then are they dead in the water at that location?
The county could appeal this to LUBA. That's the Land Use Board of Appeals. That takes up to a year, 8 months to a year to go through. If he decides against us, then we'll have to decide whether we're going to take the appeal to LUBA as well. But the hearings official, the county has won, but we have argued that since the county is the applicant, he doesn't have a clear opinion on this, and so they actually brought in.
So they were going to use their own hearings official. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And judge to
and Rick, the first part of that was that it was actually the planning director that signed off on the first part of it, and the county had submitted an incomplete application, and the planning director said, make sure you get your stuff in by this date, because I want to have it approved by this date. And so the county was telling the county they want to get it approved before they even saw the application in. That's how messed up this whole entire process is. And so, one of the things that we found out, that was the last press release that I sent you, was that I mentioned it's 5 lots that make up this 26 acres.
And wetlands.
In wetlands, 2 of those lots weren't legally established. So that's actually what that means is when you purchase some land, there's supposed to be some sort of survey work done. Here is the land per these dimensions and locations. It wasn't done. And if private citizen goes in there and tries to get something done at the county, this is the first question that the county asks you to get done. Sometimes this process ends up taking 6 months. So the county didn't even verify on their own piece of property that they're putting a permit here, or that they need a permit for, whether it's a legal lot or not.
So what's good for the taxpayer is not necessarily what the county officials have to do, but it's the county wanting to do it.
Yep.
What is why do they? So if you've got EPUD already getting gas out of this stuff,
yep.
Now you're gonna is there more gas to be gotten? What I guess what I don't understand, Jake, is why the big push by the county? To me, just as a guy and out here listening to what you're telling me, it sounds like virtue signaling. Like, okay, this looks good, it sounds good, but you're not taking into consideration. So on one thing, you're trying to stop methane or certain gases from entering the atmosphere, which EPA is already doing, right?
Yep. EPA is already doing.
So now you're creating a situation where you're possibly polluting the Willamette River with this facility. You're also polluting any groundwater that's out there in this area. And not to mention raising the price of garbage so that the people that don't have enough money to barely put freaking food on their table are not going to pay the fee to dump their television in the right manner. They're going to dump it out on a logging road somewhere. So you're not, whatever you want to preach this as, you're not environmentalist. You're not doing this to be environmental. You're doing this to sound good. That's what it sounds like to me.
And let me add one more thing here too, is one of the reasons was to help add time onto the landfill that we have. So add years left. This thing will, divert the garbage that would normally go to the landfill and go to other things. Well, since they've raised their prices, some of the cities, the rural cities in Lane County has said, we can't pay for these increases. You have not consulted with us, your partners, in other cities. So they have asked their garbage hauler, look into other options for taking our garbage to whatever landfill you choose. And so the county has actually lost customers because of this. And so they're already getting the diversion that they wanted and the lifespan that they wanted. Well, what that means, Rick, is they're not going to have the fees to pay for this facility because they don't have the customers to pay for this facility.
Right.
So in the last meeting that the county commissioners had, the public works director said, hey, we're actually losing revenue because some of the garbage has been moved out of the county. We might think of some other options, raising rates higher, trying to put a fee on some of the cities that are moving their garbage, or bringing garbage in from other counties to offset the garbage that we're losing. So the whole entire thing is just a business operation to the county at this point, because all those other boxes have been checked about, recycling, gas, diversion. It's all been checked. The problem is the county signed this contract. And so there is going to be, they've signed the contract with the private company to run this facility. And so I don't know what their out is, but frankly, that's not our problem. They signed the contract, and they're going to have to deal with that.
And just for people in the audience that are Lane County taxpayers, who voted for this and who voted against it? I think people should know.
I'm glad you asked that. Sometimes I forget to mention that, but it was a 3-2 vote, and it was multiple times 3-2 vote. Commissioner Lovall and Commissioner Siniga. Lovall's from Springfield, Commissioner Siniga's from West Lane. They both opposed it, and they both have serious concerns about this project. Commissioner Farr supported it from North Eugene. Commissioner Lori Trieger from South Eugene supported it, and Commissioner Heather Buck from East Lane County also supported this project.
Okay, so if people want to write a letter, then make sure you get the right names on there and let them know how you feel about this. So the next step then is this decision in mid-April, and then you guys, whoever wins or loses, has to decide if they want to fight this on to the next place. Who's the real loser in this?
Taxpayers. That's real losers are taxpayers. I mean, I think that if the county decides to get out right now, they're going to save money. Even if they're getting into a legal battle with this private contractor, they will save money. If they continue to push on this thing longer and longer and it gets prolonged, there's a timeline on which both the private contractor and the county have signed an agreement on things that need to happen in order for this project to happen. Part of those are permits, part of theirs is building the construction of it, and part of it is like the contractor needs to put all of this machine together.
Yeah.
If they go out and they purchase this machine using their funds, and the county's supposed to be able to collect money and pay for this, if the county's not able to do that, it's going to create a situation where, there's going to be fighting back and forth. And in this contract, there's a $12,000 a day penalty for missing this deadline. So it's a penalty that the county can put on the contractor, bulk handling systems, or bulk handling systems can put on you could have this thing where they're paying out a lot of money for nothing, basically.
And again, what you said is you have to remember this isn't Farr and Buck and the rest of them paying out of their check. This is Lane County taxpayers paying the mistakes of a decision like this. Lauren Olson says the county already has a huge issue with leaching from the landfill. They spent a lot of money on a system that didn't work, so they trucked the leach off to the city sewer plant for treatment. This theoretically keeps it out of Camas Swale. Stacy Holt says the biggest issue for me is that they are doing this for a tiny fractional benefit to the environment.
Yeah. Correct. The leachate pipeline could be funded. So another project that Waste Management has, Public Works has, is to pipe that, create a pipeline through Goshen to connect into Glenwood, where they would take the leachate and just, instead of having the trucks on the road with this toxic material, they just pipe it over a pipeline. Well, what that would do is, if there's a pipeline from Short Mountain to Glenwood, then it would tie in the sewer system from Eugene Springfield into Goshen, which would help out Goshen. Like that, you would think that would be what the county would be in favor of. Also, right. Cresswell has a wastewater problem where they're at capacity and they cannot build in Cresswell. And so they need to look at options. If a pipeline was created that goes to Short Mountain, that could be an option for Cresswell to tie in there for their wastewater problem so that they can help build on their city. County needs to build partnerships. And this thing they had no partners from the get-go other than the private contractor.
So Lauren obviously knows stuff. He says EPA has a generation plant that was using the methane to generate enough power for 1,000 homes. The county, Lane County, has fought them for years over that contract.
Yeah.
I don't know who Lauren is, but he's obviously connected with.
Well, EPA did a ton of outreach before these votes, and between EPA and my association, we got thousands of comments into the county on this, and there was only kind of a handful of supporters for this, and it was all kind of Eugene or someone that was connected with making money in this project. EPA really, they had plans to upgrade their generators, because when you burn gas, you lose a little bit of the energy. So they were upgrading their stuff because this gas became more valuable to use for their ratepayers.
What's kind of sad about this whole thing too is, you do projects like that. There's some really, like you said, Lane County's already got a 50%, recycling. They're doing great stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and EPA doing amazing. I didn't know they've been doing that for 20 years.
Yeah.
Here's these cool things, and then something like this comes along where you put the right label on it, And then if this goes sour, then everybody starts looking at, we don't need to protect the environment. It's like, we just don't need to overprotect it when when you're not really protecting it, because you're still, look what you're doing to the creek, look what you're doing to the groundwater. I mean, you're putting a shiny finish on a really dull penny. And it's and if it backfires on you and the taxpayers have to pay for this, man, those three commissioners are in some trouble. Do people know? Do people, I mean, on the street, do people hear this and go, because they call it now, it wasn't originally called the recycling plant, but that sounds better when you want to make it fit in, right? So you put the recycling plant on. So are there people really that are just going around going, this is such a cool thing?
I don't think so. I don't think they actually want to talk about it, because the more people know about it, they're like, what in the world? And I've ran into people that I would think are way for this, and they're just like, yeah, I'm pretty skeptical of this. Right. And then one of the things, the dynamics about with the whole garbage being moved, is that Eugene has an intergovernmental agreement with the county that anyone who picks up garbage in Eugene must take it to Lane County or pay the system benefit fee, which essentially makes it so they don't take it anywhere. So at the end of the day, Eugene's going to pay for it. So, it's Springfield, the other Crestwell, Cottage Grove, the other cities that may or may not have moved their garbage, they're not going to be paying for it. City of Eugene, they're locked in to pay for this. The city of Eugene has a budget problem right now. And I mean, it just seems pretty crazy that they would be really for this with little to no benefit at the end of the day.
Well, Jake, thanks for what you do. And, let me know if, when this gets to a place, and we'll just kind of refresh people, let them know what's going on and remind them. And for any of you guys out there who are putting this on your page, because that first 4 minutes, just right when you post it, to move ahead 4 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it is, I'm going to go in and look for it and put it in the lead so people will know. You go in, that wasn't Jake's fault. That was my programming. I don't know what that is. It wasn't me, but something was going on. We want to make sure people get there can see it.
And we do have a website. It's LCGRA.com, which is Lane County Garbage and Recycling Association. LCGRA.com.
Okay.
You might even see things on there that I didn't even talk about. This thing has been going on for a long time, and there's been a lot of issues. So I could go on for forever, Rick. I appreciate you having me on.
No, I really appreciate it. I love learning about stuff like this. It's just, I just want people to be informed and know that, what they're doing with money. Because then when you get that bill someday, and you're going to go, what am I paying? Why am I paying 11% more? You take, leaves to the dump, and you're going, what am I paying that for? Why is it costing me so much money? My biggest, honest, and I know I brought it up already a couple times. My biggest concern is there's already people that dump in the woods, and there are, and we need to make it easier and less expensive for people to throw their garbage away, because in case the county officials didn't understand, we're in a frickin' recession almost, and inflation is really high, and you can't be doing little feel-good projects when you got people suffering out there and charging them more money to dump their garbage. It's just a pitiful. That you're creating the very problem you say you're trying to solve, is more pollution. And I really wish every dump would have a scholarship program. I would give to it, because I spend a lot of time in the woods. When I go out to a gate, I understand why Weyerhaeuser puts a gate and locks it, because right at that gate, there's dishwashers, refrigerators, washing machines. People put them out there because they can't afford the fees to go take them into the dump. And then paint cans and toxic materials, because there's a fee for that too. And these people they can't afford to do that, so that's what they do with it.
Yeah, my members are always picking up stuff. I mean, because there's a lot of. They're out and about, and they see something, they just like, well, we got the truck. So we're doing that a lot too, and that's definitely a concern.
What really changed my mind? I mean, I never was for that. But when I went with this woman, I can't remember her name, but I did a story with this woman, and that was her whole job for the county. Is people would call in and say they found mattresses and stuff like that. So we followed her with a camera, and the stuff she had to go out and pick up in a truck that people just threw on the side of the road, it was just embarrassing. And here's this woman, and she was tough. I mean, she's a girl, like she'd take my ass, and she'd be hauling these mattresses and throw them up, and it was like unbelievable what people left behind. And as times get worse, it just gets worse than that. So anyway. All right, Jake, good job. Thank you. Right. And sorry for the little problems at the front. We got her done, though. I'll see you later.
All right, thanks, Rick. See you.
You're welcome. So again, you guys, that's going on in your county. And this, this is what you have to know who you're voting for and what people are doing at the county level. And Neil Moyer puts all the video work for the county, and you can see these meetings. I know it's boring and that kind of thing, but you need to be aware. They put out a docket every week of what they're talking about, and you need to be aware of who's doing what and why they say they're doing it. And then you write that, and if you don't want it done, then you got to say something. So anyway, the power of the people. We're learning, aren't we? Apathy doesn't work. You got to be involved. So do it.